my count, we are 23 days away from departing for TFFL draft weekend. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. The NFL is playing preseason games. We've had some injuries that are shaking up the TFFL landscape a little bit. We'll talk about that tonight. Also ahead tonight, we're going to do a live mock draft, and we'll interview a guy who I think might be the most popular owner in the TFFL right now as we barrel toward the keeper deadline. That would be Nick, managing general partner of the Dirt Devils. So Nick, welcome to the Webcast.
Thank you for having me.
Also, real quick, our panel, our new commissioner, Terry Rogers.
Hello, everyone.
Our IT director, Hank.
Good evening. Happy to be here. Happy for the season.
And Berto from Jack's Giant Killers. Welcome back.
Hey, Stick. Phil, good job with the IT work tonight.
Hey, we have to troubleshoot what's needed. Here we go. We're on the air.
Quick shout out to our former commissioner chief, our Webcast colleague. He's traveling this week. We got a full panel as it is, but he'll be back. Before we get to important business and roundtable discussions, as always, let's kick it off with TFFL trivia.
Trivia time.
Hank, I hope you've got the scores there somewhere. We'll update those at the end of the show.
We're going to start afresh. We are counting this because we've had some off-season stuff. I mean, I don't know where you guys want me to draw the line.
I just asked the questions.
I can keep it running forever if we want to. You know,
Starting.
I do have a pretty good tabulation, but all right, we'll get to that later in the show.
All right. So a question I asked a couple of webcasts ago revealed that the Aliens are the team that has gone the longest since last scoring 100 points in a game. I want you to tell me, as of 2017, this is one part of the archives that is updated. As of all the way through 2017, which franchise has the most lifetime 100-point games? And I'll tell you the number because I'm not going to ask you to guess it. 11 is the number. 11 times the franchise has eclipsed 100 points.
Nice.
Nice addition. I like that.
That is very good.
Nice touch.
Good work. You're adding value already, Nick. Who would have thought?
All right, and so write down your answers. I'll give you the correct one later in the show. We'll
Repeat the question one more time. I'll make sure it's not a trick question.
Sure, and we'll call it 2 points for the correct answer tonight. Looking for the franchise with the most lifetime 100-point TFFL games.
This is regular season and playoffs.
Fine. Yep.
Goals, everything.
We don't discriminate. 100 points is 100 points.
11 total. All right.
Yep.
Could be a team with like Priest Holmes and LaDainian Tomlinson on it.
It might be.
All right. So let's move to the garage now. Commissioner Rogers, what do we need to know? What do we need to do? We got a lot of important things coming up.
We got a lot of important things coming up.
Any junk behind you want to talk about?
No. I mean, enjoy. It's all back there for your pleasure. So just check it out. If you want to know what anything is, just ask me. Yeah, we're 22 days away from Myrtle. A couple of housekeeping items that we always have. Dues and keeper lists. The week before the draft, I want to have those on September 1st. That's Saturday by noon. I'll distribute those out that day. That's also the kickoff of the number 9 ranked Nittany Lions, so I hope to get that out before 3:30. So be prompt with those lists. Then I'll distribute that list, and everybody can start patting themselves on the back about how good their keeper list is. The other thing
We're flogging ourselves.
I'm talking to the league here. I hope everybody has sent their arrival times to Rich so we can coordinate that down in Myrtle. I think the majority of the people will be getting there, and we'll have everybody down there by Friday. I think the badass, as usual, will be the last at 7 p.m. on Friday. And then I'll get with Rich, but we did vote, and we are going out for dinner this year. Is that correct? So we will get reservations. So I need to get on that and organize that, and we'll figure out where we're going to eat. And that is all for Garage Talk for this episode.
And just a couple other things to add to, Terry.
Okay.
So we don't have a sports bar for Sunday now because the overtime has been closed.
Wow.
So that's one thing we got to think about. And what was the other thing? Oh, getting into the house early on Thursday. You guys saw my email. We should be able to do that. So.
And then just looks like Connor will be the one to lock up and take the key back.
Cool.
At least if I read the emails correctly. Chris, I hope
Connor know this?
He said he was leaving Monday, so.
So volunteered.
Leaving Monday and locking up and taking the key back are two different things. But
that's different things.
We're leaving Monday. Well, who knows? Actually, we talked about Sunday night. We do not have our departure plans set yet. All right, so let's move on to Hank. Ordinarily, we'd be turning to him for the standings at this part of the webcast, but we're all 0-0 at this point. There is some important information that he can get to us, though, and that's the draft order. Let's restate the first round and go over a couple other key things that people need to keep in mind as we talk about swapping draft picks and prepping for the draft.
All right. Look, before we get to the actual order of the first round, I've been looking at it tonight and kind of examining what we have that's out of line. So let's start with a little bit, and I really looked at the first 4 rounds in terms of how are things shaking out and where is everybody. So I've called out. I've got 5 different teams that are worth calling out with some uniqueness to them. First, the bad. The bad begins with the Slippery Beavers, who are in the position of no first, no fourth. However, they have 2 seconds. All right, so they make up a little bit for the first. They only have 3 picks in the first 4 rounds, so 3 picks total. The other bad team is our dear moderator, the Alien, who come into this draft with no first, no second. They do have 2 thirds. So they have 3 picks in the first 4. They're the 2 thirds plus their 4th. So total of 3. So the Beavers and Aliens are the trailing pack. After 4 rounds, they will each only have 3 players drafted. Now we go to the good. And the good, we can determine, which one is really the best. And, we can discuss that if you'd like. The Amsterdam freaking Packers, which is not a good sign, have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
They have no third, but they have 3 firsts, meaning they have 6 picks in the top 4 in the first 4 rounds. Now, the team that is managed here or owned by our new commissioner, the Mongols, have 7 picks in the first 4 rounds, including the number 2 overall, which is, I hope, something we're going to talk about a little bit because that's going to be an interesting pick now.
Big pick.
Yeah, it's a big pick. So now we come to the K-Wheels, and this is my draft, guys. This is my draft. I have the number 1 pick overall, and I have 8 picks in the first 4 rounds. So as the Aliens and Beavers will be standing there with 3, I will have 8 players on my team. So everybody except, some kickers and defenses and a couple flyers. So I'm excited. I think that's the best thing. So in terms of the draft order, we can look at it. We've got the K-Wheels picking first. We've got the Mongols picking second. We have the Devils picking third. We're going to set the tone for this draft. As mentioned, the Beavers and Aliens are not going to pick, and the AmPack are going to come out with 3 first-round picks to absolutely bolster that team. So that's how we, the summary cliff notes of where we are in the first round. It should be exciting. This is, let's see how it goes. But remember, guys like Alvin Kamara, got picked late. There's a lot of fun to be had.
I can tell you, Hank is more prepared for this draft than I've ever seen him.
I'm going to confess that I'm probably ahead of most of you in terms of where are the big battles, what are the key decisions, what kind of guys do I need to grab where, if I really want them. So I'm excited, and
you got a lot of.
Let's go. I'm ready.
You got a lot of picks. You better be ready to use them.
I am ready to use them.
It makes me sick that the Wheels and the AMPAC almost automatically have two good drafts. I mean, Saquon Barkley makes the Wheels draft no matter what else happens, in theory. And the AMPAC with those three first-round picks, I hate that in the division, both of those.
Berto, anything that we can do.
Shame on whoever traded the AMPAC all these first-round picks.
Well, you can thank the Aliens and the Beavers for that. You can thank those two. They are your guilty parties. Berto, anything that I can be a part of that makes your path strong or tougher to manage, I'm for it.
Don't like it one bit.
All right, we will talk more about the first round. We're going to do a live first round mock here in just a moment, but as we shift into our roundtable discussion, our first order of business is an interview with Nick, managing general partner of the Dirt Devils. I'm going to let Berto, our eye on the TFFL host, take over here. Panel can jump in at some point with their own questions, but Nick on the hot seat.
Dick, thank you. Thank you for the lead-in questions earlier today. That was helpful. It made my job easier. The first question for Nick is, Nick, when was the last time you looked at your roster? Muted.
You're good.
I'm good. So the last time I looked was Stick sent out a projected keeper list earlier this evening that I took a look at to see what he had done. The full list before. Oh, by the way, the full list before we played golf last Saturday. So a quick shout out to Stick for putting together a golfing round last Saturday morning. Sorry to.
Thank you. That's what we call it, a golfing round.
A round of golf.
All right. So when you looked at this, when you looked at your player,
I got him.
After Kirk Cousins and Diggs and maybe Gore, what's the plan here? What do we got after that? What are you gonna do?
Best player available in the first round.
No, but before you get to that point, what's the you got anything in the works?
Yeah, no, I think I've talked to a bunch of owners this offseason about a lot of their players, different ways to upgrade the Devils. I think that while some people may talk about stumbling onto something, I look at it as Cousins and Diggs being a foundation for the future, along with a top-notch running back that we're going to add in the first round, along with talking to different owners about some different players, that the arrow is pointing up.
Let me ask you something. Is that third overall pick, is that in play by any chance?
Not unless Hank wants to give me the number one.
There's zero chance of that happening. So carry on.
Okay. So are you close on any deals? Is there something that you could, potentially by the end of this webcast, share with the live audience?
No, probably not. I think that one of the things that we're never going to be guilty of is making a rash decision. We've talked to Bill, quite a bit. Talked to his co-owner this past weekend, Shive. Was good to see Shive engaged in TFFL talk. And then also, I think just like everyone else, been talking to Kramer. let's say, less than stellar quality offers, but that's sort of his MO.
Is the over 20 texts from Kramer?
No, definitely under.
Okay. All right, well, that's pretty good. I think I got 20 probably right now.
Would you refer to Kramer's offers as shithole offers?
I prefer substandard, less than mediocre. Not worth the time, but I'm never not going to respond to something that he offers.
Okay. Well, let's take a step back here for a second. What's the best and the worst thing about you as an owner, Devils ownership? What's your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
I think one of the strengths is having a vision for for long-term greatness. Not many owners have that.
Okay.
Sorry, just coming.
Good answer.
Nice. Did you say that at a job interview recently?
Sorry, repeat that again.
Did you say that at a job interview recently?
I'm sorry. There's nothing that funny.
I would say the biggest weakness is obviously not, we can always put more time into it. I got you, Phil. You're there. We lost Terry.
We'll get Terry.
I think his alarm, the grandfather clock behind him may have fallen. There he is.
All right. That's all I had. I'll open up to the panel. Phil, you got anything for Nick?
Yeah, Nick, I wonder if you have a date in mind prior to the 30th of August. Is that what you said, Stick? 30th of August is the keeper deadline. So in terms of what is the relative date that you are going to actually wake up and engage in the roster building activity of the Devils?
Well, let's say this is that the when other owners are going to be looking at their keeper lists, there's higher value on those non-keepers, or let me put it this way: the non-keepers value gets lower and lower and lower the closer you get to the keeper deadline. So somebody is not going to, they're going to be in a position to want to move somebody the closer they get to the deadline. So we're in a much better bargaining position if we wanted to make a trade the closer we get to that August 30th, because there's going to be more pressure on other owners to move players. I think that when it comes to the, how we, I don't do extensive, draft lineups or mock drafts, myself. But I'll have an idea of what I want to do before Myrtle Beach.
I think I heard in there an acknowledgement that the Devils may be picking up a player or two or three. And I think that's the big question is the league are the Devils indeed going to be active, and how many players do you think you need to bring in to upgrade your keeper list?
We're fine.
Touche. I think it just depends on the offer. We're never going to say that we're not going to do something if it makes sense. Obviously, I'm not going to certainly turn down an opportunity to talk to Phil about the #1 overall pick if it makes sense for the Devils. Whether that occurs, on August 29th or 30th, doesn't make a difference. I'm willing to turn over the roster if need be to ensure, as I said earlier, fulfilling the vision of long-term greatness.
The first flaw in your long-term greatness plan is thinking that there is not a player on your team that I would trade for the #1 pick. And you're basically saying, look, I'm going to let everybody else sort out their decisions and take whatever's left. Are you viewing this as part of some kind of long-term building plan? Is there a larger look at this picture where you're not willing to mortgage very much for this year's immediate future?
No, well, I mean, two things. One, I'm surprised that you turned down 2 potential Minnesota Vikings to root for every Sunday.
I already made the mistake on the Minnesota Vikings long ago, which led to whatever the Devils became. So whatever
most 100
you feel as though you may have had as the Devils, it is because Hank felt too much loyalty in fantasy football.
I love the fact that Michael Bennett can come up at every webcast, no matter what, at some point.
I mean, I get killed by this. It is the worst decision ever made in a dynasty football league, and I gotta wear that. And I promise I will not do that over team loyalty or emotion in the future.
I think that much like me deciding not to go to Myrtle last year, you make a decision with the information that you have at hand at that time.
Correct.
Monday morning quarterbacking a decade later is easy to do. So,
do you not watch our show? I mean, this is what we do: is Monday morning quarterbacking.
Like I said, we talk about this almost every webcast.
I think that so to get back to ultimately to the question, did the Devils need more cornerstones? Absolutely. I think that between what we have right now and where we need to be, obviously there's more needed there. I think that more so this year than other years, there's an opportunity to deliver on the promises that we've made. So, and that's one of the downfalls to doing so well so often is that you end up potentially drafting in the later half of the first round. So anybody who's won multiple championships will tell you that.
I'm gonna mute now.
He is right.
I mean, look at the impact right now who have recently, hit the bottom. They have 4 great running backs that they're gonna keep and 3 first-round picks. You don't, and you're picking third.
No, I'm not debating that I don't have those picks. One of the things that I've also been hesitant to do has been to make trades and want to build through the draft. I think the year that, and forgive me for not knowing this off the top of my head, when we went into the draft saying that we were going to tank to get Leonard Fournette, I believe that year I made the playoffs.
In Nick's defense, we have this conversation often, and the Devils have not yet, at least, hit rock bottom. I mean, they have been winning their division, making the playoffs, just missing the playoffs even last year.
Pac Bowl in 2012, which isn't all that long ago.
No. All right, one quick softball question for you, Nick. I'll give you a chance to talk about your 2 best players. As I noted in our agenda, you sort of stumbled into this quarterback tandem, and I don't mean that in a negative way. You did not intend to create a quarterback tandem with Cousins and Diggs. Cousins just made it that way when he signed in Minnesota. We've had this conversation on the webcast before. Are you a quarterback wide receiver tandem believer or denier? Are you happy that you now have this tandem?
Oh, I got him on mute. Hold on. I got too many things banging. Berkman is pinging me. We get on the chat. We got the live chat. I got Nick muted so we can hear each other.
There you go.
Go ahead, Nick.
That's all right. My Nuggets can wait. I think that it's a firm believer. Put me in the having faith. Tomorrow being a holy day of obligation for those that are Catholic. Having faith. That's definitely something you won't hear on every webcast. But having faith that I believe in the quarterback wide receiver tandem. I'm a firm denier in having a quarterback running back tandem. I think that when I had Morris, Alfred Morris, and Kirk Cousins, that was a detriment to the franchise versus the current state. And that would go back as far as, Brett Favre and wasn't Donald Driver. I'm trying to remember the tandem.
The running back?
No.
Scott Mitchell and Herman Moore.
That's going way back with Alvin Harper on that same team. I'm trying to think of the wide receiver combo with Favre.
Antonio Freeman
Might have been. So I'm a firm believer. I think that's an easy. I'll tell you what. Most recently, which I also lucked into, was, and it's unfortunate that he's not having a great. He still is hurt. Is Marcus Mariota and Rashard Matthews within 4 games had 5 or 6 touchdowns. Again, these aren't prolific, greatest show on turf teams, but I think that the Vikings do have an opportunity to do that this year. And ultimately, you know what? The more players you can have on really good NFL teams, the more successful you're going to be in fantasy. So all draft lists aside, I think that's some pretty basic information to make any budding owner a little bit better.
Actually, some good insights in there, Nick. Thank you.
Yes, nuggets of wisdom from Roy are just spewing forth. I mean, I guarantee you're the only one on this webcast or in our league that knew that today was some sort of Catholic holy day of observation or whatever that is.
It is National Lizard Day.
That is breaking news. I just wanted to say, National Lizard Day. Nice work, Berkman. But yeah, Roy, that the good players on good teams. Man, I'm going to think about that. That's a good observation.
Could we also say I'm probably the only one that's sober on the webcast tonight?
that might be true. I don't know if that's true.
So apparently we have multiple people in our live audience out there, and I think there's a chat going on among them somewhere that I want them to know.
I don't know how to get to the chat.
Do we have any questions from the chat?
Yeah.
We'll have to work on that audience panel interaction next time.
Yeah, I have no idea. Are they talking like the com.com chat? Like that chat?
Maybe on YouTube. I don't know. But
I don't know.
Let's get to the segment
I need more info.
Everybody's waiting for.
Yeah.
Our live mock draft. And I've doled out assignments, who's going to be picking for who. We are blessed, I say, Nick, to have tonight the top 3 draft picks. We're all represented here on the panel. We're going to hear directly from each of them to set the stage for the top 3, to set the stage for the rest of the first round. I think there are 2 big things we're going to be looking for as we go through the first round here. One is the rookie running backs, obviously, but lots of injuries all of a sudden. Darius Geis out for the year. Sony Michel in New England has been banged up. So let's see where the rookie running backs fall. And then I think the other big issue is, what does Ralph do with those 3 first-round picks at number 6, 9, and 11 overall? Let's get to it. Hank, number 1 overall. What do you got at this point? We still got 23 days, 3 weeks to go. These things could change.
Could change.
Could change. I really hope that the Giants do not play him any further in the preseason. We saw what we needed to say on his first play as a professional. I will be taking Saquon Barkley. That is not breaking news, but that is the plan.
All right, number 2 is the Mongols.
All right,
Terry, again, you can deceive us all you want, but give us the name.
This pick would have been Darius Geis. I had locked in on him, and in an email exchange with Hank, it said it's going to be Geis unless something drastically changes. Well, it drastically changed, and I will pick Royce Freeman.
Coming on strong.
All right, number 3 is going to be the Devils, of course. Nick, are you prepared enough at this point to speculate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously, I think Hank's pick is fairly straightforward. A lot of what I'm going to do is based on what Terry does if he's using smoke and mirrors with his pick. I've got a couple of different options. Mentioned Michelle, obviously, Richard Penny in Seattle. I think it would look at those two primarily. I'm leaning towards Michelle, even though he's in New England, and there could be, multiple. Who knows what Belichick's going to do, but I like them to put up better numbers than Seattle, which is not guaranteed to have a good season in the NFC this year. So I'm gonna go with Michelle.
Okay. Number 4, Hormel Hams. The Hams lost 9 games to finish the 2017 season, drafting toward the top of the first round here. Berto, why don't you go ahead and make a pick for the Hams? Maybe you've got some insights gleaned from a fish show together or something.
I'll get more this weekend when I see Michael at a fish festival. We're going to Curveball, but ahead of that, I'm going to go with Rashad Penny. So I think Michael is going to look at the value that he can get from him this year. Talented back. Seattle does have some issues, but I think he's going to get the rock quite a bit. And some of the other guys have some further competition in their backfields that he might not have, although Chris Carson's getting a lot of pub. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Penny.
I thought the fish show was this past weekend.
They played at Merriweather this past weekend locally.
We have a festival this weekend, Watkins Glen.
Got to be there.
NASCAR?
Formula One.
All right, carrying on through the first round. Number 5 is the Lizards. Lizards actually missed the playoffs last year. They've got a great team. I'm going to make this pick for Rich. Rich has got 4 tremendous receivers. He's going to need, like most teams, to add a talented running back here, but he really needs somebody who's going to play for him this year and hopefully be a keeper for him. I think you're looking at guys like Ronald Jones, Nick Chubb. The Lizards have Mike Evans already in Tampa at wide receiver, so I'm going to go with Nick Chubb here at number 5 overall. That brings us to number 6, to the AMPAC. Their first of 3 first-rounders.
All right, well.
Terry is going to make all 3 of these picks for Ralph.
Yes. Well, Ralph, as Hank mentioned in the lead-up, that has 4 really good running backs that he's already protected. I could see Ralph, with this pick in the first round, going for the best player that I have left on the board and a former Packer, probably will get close to 100 catches this year, Larry Fitzgerald. Not sexy, smart.
Mm-hmm.
Depending upon how focused Ralph is, he should, especially after losing the Pac Bowl last year when he had such a great team, I would expect he's still in win now mode. He's going to need a receiver to start week 1 and throughout the season. Larry Fitzgerald's a fine choice there.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7 is going to be Jack's Giant Killers. I'm going to step up and make this pick for Berto. Berto has a lot of needs on his franchise, but again, I think most people at this point are looking rookie running back. Ronald Jones is still sitting out there. I think that's a fairly easy pick for the Giant Killers. Running back is probably their biggest need. Jones has not looked great this preseason thus far, but it's early. He's got what I think is relatively little competition there, and should be a good pick here. Okay, number 8.
No arguments.
Number 8, and probably the last. I think maybe one more good rookie out there who's going to get touches right away, but perhaps the last of the top tier rookie running backs. Number 8, Sponge Fisherman. We just had lunch last week with Chief, a TFFL lunch. I'll let Hank make this pick for Chief. perhaps gleaning some insights from our conversation last week.
Well, I have no memory, so I don't. Chief, don't worry, I don't remember what you might have told us anyway. He needs receivers. He's got Edelman suspended. He's got Jones suspended, or Ingram suspended, and I guess Crowell is listed as a little dinged up. I think he needs to get a receiver that he can plug in week to week and count on him to do something for them. And I think there's been maybe a little too much buzz, but at least at the moment, I would suggest that he's going to take Devin Funchess and add him to the squad as a receiver he can start each week.
Chief has a long history of drafting receivers early, so that makes some sense. Terry, number 9, Ampac, second pick of the first round.
Yeah, we're looking at Ralph's got after that pick 4 receivers, 4 running backs. I'm sorry, 3 receivers, 4 running backs. He can afford to look in either direction. I think, however, because he loves them, we've talked about it. This is the time. Gamble on greatness. I love Josh Gordon, says Ralph.
Yeah.
All right, so this answers a key question. So far, Ralph is loading up on receivers. One more pick to go, but he has not taken a rookie running back yet. Number 10 overall, Senators. Berto, I don't know how often you're getting coffee with Kramer, but I trust you might have some insights there. Why don't you make this pick for him?
I think Kramer is going to go back to the well for a rookie running back after the last couple picks. There weren't any, and he's going to go back to Kerryon Johnson and hoping he can strike gold again like he did last year with Kamara in the 3rd round, right?
I think so. Yep.
So, David Johnson was the number 12 overall pick a couple years ago to the Hams, and if Sens can hit on something at the 10th slot here with a rookie running back, they'd be absolutely thrilled.
All right, back to Terry, back to the Ampac at number 11 overall, the last of Ralph's 3 first-rounders.
Yeah, I think he goes back to the running back well. There might be one rookie running back worth taking there, but I think he goes with a veteran, more of a veteran here, not a rookie anyway. To toss up between, I'll just go with Dion Lewis.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick for Ralph. Dion Lewis seems like a Ralph-type player.
Yep.
And I think he is probably the number 1 veteran running back out there, assuming the Lizards don't trade him to the Devils, perhaps. I think he goes in the first round, probably somewhere toward the end of the first round if he's out there. All right, last pick in the first round is our defending champs, the Boba Fats. Hank, you want to make a pick?
Yeah. All right. The Fats, I think, are in a reasonable position because of Kelsey's flexibility. They can probably take the best player available situation. However, Burkhead is I guess a little dinged up and has not been getting rave reviews. So he's probably going to default toward a running back he can play. And I think we're at that point where you could gamble on the one rookie left, and so they probably will, and just say, all right, he's going to take Jordan Wilkins in Indianapolis to see if he can't be somebody who gets the opportunity.
And for the record, I've got him keeping James White. I think you could argue maybe he'll keep Rex Burkhead instead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In either way, whichever one. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Terry.
Yes.
I just traded my 5th round pick to Bill for Devin Funchess.
Oh, you did?
Did you really?
That's we haven't.
Excellent. Good job, Nick.
And he got Devin Funchess, who now my mock draft is totally blown. That's who I had the Sponge taken. Sorry, Sponge, you lost him.
You could have told us this before we got to the 8th pick there.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we have a reason to do another webcast. We'll have a new mock next time. But there you have. There are your answers. There's two receivers early on for the Ampac. They do grab a good veteran running back with their 3rd pick. We see a lot of rookie running backs go. I thought you were going to say Kalen Ballage there at the end, Hank, but Jordan Wilkins is a fine option there too.
I just been reading about him today. That again, maybe it's because Mac is a little dinged up, but I've been reading that he's looking good today. So
all good. Just the three receivers and all veteran receivers. No rookie receivers. None of the rookie quarterbacks obviously making it into the first round. Pretty much as expected, but we'll keep updating this as we go along. We did not talk about two teams in the first round, the Aliens being one of them. We picked first at number 30 overall. The Beavers don't have a first-round pick. They've got 2 second-rounders, middle or the end of the second round. Here's my question about the Beavers. We talked a lot last year about Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff. Might Bill be able to trade one of them this offseason? He's obviously going to go into the year with Aaron Rodgers. Is Goff somebody he targets with one of those 2 back-to-back second-rounders? Does he want to go get him back? Because I think if he tries to wait until middle of the third round, we all know there's usually a couple quarterbacks off the board, late second, early third. Goff will probably be gone if Bill waits too long.
I feel like I'm a loudmouth, but yeah, I mean, I think he definitely will. I think if somebody wants Goff, they're gonna have to take him before those 2 picks that Bill has, because he loves Jared Goff, even though Goff is only valuable if your best player gets whacked. And maybe that saves the season, and getting an insurance policy in the second round is the priority. But yeah, I think Bill definitely takes him.
Yeah, I think you'll see a couple of quarterbacks in the second round, right? So, that makes sense that he would pick him up there. I agree with that.
Yeah, and to Hank's point, I think we all do tend to latch on to our players and like, our guys, but as Hank said, I know Bill's a fan of Jared Goff, so he'll definitely target him if he's there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one quick question about the Aliens, and it's a quarterback question as well. The news on Carson Wentz is squishy at this point, whether he'll be ready for week 1 or not. The Eagles play on Thursday night in week 1, so the Aliens are going to have to make a call on whether he's their week 1 starter before we even get to the draft.
That's right.
So I think we'll know the answer to my question here before we get to the draft, but at this point, how much do you think the Aliens need to be planning to spend an early pick on a quarterback and have somebody who can start week 1 and maybe even the first few weeks of the season? Berto, I'm hoping you maybe are a little closer to this as an Eagles fan.
Well, I mean, all the news you see is, it's yes one day, then I don't know the next day. So you don't have a first, you don't have a second, you pick 30th, right?
Yep.
Then you have another one in the third. So, yeah, you may be using one of those third-round picks on a QB.
Mm-hmm. Here's my thinking.
I'm sure you don't want to do that, but right. You also don't want to give up that game either.
I wonder if the Eagles are doing this intentionally, sort of keeping Wentz behind closed doors a little bit, making their week 1 and week 2 opponents start to prepare for Nick Foles. Have to prepare for both Foles and Wentz. And then I'm optimistically thinking they'll just spring Wentz on him at the last minute, but make their opponents prepare for Foles in the meantime.
The way the Eagles have talked about Carson Wentz, and I think what he showed through most of last season is that he's the future, and they need to keep him healthy. And I don't think they will rush him out there. I think if he's ready, he'll play. I don't think it matters if he plays that much in the preseason. He needs to be practicing well, and he needs to be, maybe playing a quarter in one of these preseason games. But I would not be surprised at all if he is not a week 1 starter, and then you have to decide whether, okay, do I suck it up and realize I'm not going to start in week 1 and then somewhat prioritize, maybe not in the first, or maybe not the second or third round, but make it a bigger priority than you otherwise would. Yeah, that might be realistic.
The Eagles planned for this, right? They could have traded Foles. They didn't, and they did it for a reason. So I think, they'll be very cautious with Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see, it's going to be close. Time will. I'm just reading some of the quotes here. I got to get a week in a practice. So those are, you hate to see that stuff, and again, even a Thursday to a Sunday game, or that's a couple days that he doesn't have there that last week of practice or getting ready or rest time or whatever. Even that little bit of time makes a difference at the end of training camp there. So yeah, it's touchy, and you won't know. And who the hell knows about the smoke screen? I mean, smoke screens left and right, and so they could very well be doing that. So they are planning for falls, but yeah, that Thursday that definitely throws another wrinkle in things here for sure for you. Mm-hmm.
All right, let me shift to Terry here real quick. We've talked a lot about Nick and his open keeper spot or spots. I think it's fair to say the one other franchise that has perhaps one obvious need to upgrade would be Terry at his 7th keeper spot. You can look at it and say maybe his 7 best players include 2 tight ends, Evan Ingram and Greg Olsen, and that's obviously not feasible. The other scenario is he keeps 4 receivers, and the 4th would be somebody like Corey Coleman. Terry, how, as much as you're willing to clarify, how much are you looking to upgrade? Are you trying to trade either of those tight ends? What's your strategies we had?
I haven't talked about trading either of the tight ends, and maybe I should have, but that hasn't been part of my discussion. But I have had talks with several owners about upgrading that last spot. But I haven't found anything that I felt worked for me yet. If I have to keep Jamison Crowder at that 7th keeper spot or D.D. Westbrook, probably not Coleman. It's not ideal, but I could do it. I feel pretty good about my off season, the trade with you, a couple of the trades I made last season. So I feel pretty good about where I'm at, and I like having a lot of early draft picks. So I think, would I like to make a move? Yeah. Do I think I absolutely have to? No.
I'm surprisingly bullish on the Mongols this year when I look at the young talent, when I look at all the draft picks you're going to have. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I share your enthusiasm for the Mongols.
Of course, the majority, and that is a fact, the majority of your keepers are ex-aliens.
Absolutely. So that's why I made the trade.
Great players. Let's go to one final topic, which is injuries and 2 specific players I want to talk about. The big news: Darius Geis going down for the season. As Terry indicated, I think he probably would have been the number 2 overall pick. A few questions here. Yeah, Terry, how disappointed were the Mongols? Where does Geis fall in this draft? At some point it will make sense for somebody to grab him and stash him on IR, but how early does somebody use that pick? And my third question is, who steps up? Is there somebody like Samaje Perine or Rob Kelly that you think suddenly has great value?
I don't think Perine or Kelly have great value. I'll start with the last question. I think it just kind of makes the Washington backfield quicksand. You can have 1, 2, or 3 of those guys in the backfield, but it's going to be a week-to-week kind of hit or miss thing. So I don't think it automatically upgrades the other guys in the Washington backfield picture. When I heard the news that Geis blew his knee out after the initial reports saying he'll be fine, it was an MCL strain and he'll be fine, I was shook because only that week had I decided. It was like a big weight off my shoulder. I had decided on who I was going to pick, and it was over. I didn't have to think about it anymore. And, I was shook. So this year really sucked. I wanted Barkley. I couldn't lose to Hank. I settled on Geis, and he blows his knee out. So On to the next one.
It's going to start rolling our way, Terry. It starts now.
I'll tell you the other part of your question, Stick, about I've picked that the guy who is the backup running back before a couple years. Like I'm like, oh, I got a value in the second or third round, and it never panned out for me. Those guys, I started them week 1 and nothing happened, and then it was just downhill from there. So I agree with Terry's assessment on that. I've been down that road, I don't know how many countless times, but looking for that bargain in that second or third round, and they just suck.
Now, I think the more interesting thing is when will someone pull the trigger on Geis? And I don't know. I think it could be fairly early. What that means, 3rd round, 4th round. But yeah, I could see someone pulling the trigger on him early.
Yeah, my guess is 3rd round, if I had to guess.
I highly recommend you guys use your 3rd round picks on a guy who's not playing this year. I think that's a great idea. Just my 2 cents.
I'm just
and then keep. Yeah, you got to draft him and then keep him before he's ever going to play for you.
That's right.
All right, the other guy I want to talk about real
strategy. It's a great strategy. Highly endorsed.
Alshon Jeffrey is coming back from shoulder surgery. The news now is he Berto, again, you probably know a little more than I do, but that he will.
I know.
First game of the year, again, maybe a couple, may even land on the PUP list. As I said to you guys, do you think Bill is hitting the recall button on all his Demaryius Thomas trade offers at this point?
So the latest on Alshon is that he won't go on PUP. So Peterson finally commented on it. He said, again, who knows? But he said, happy with where he's at, blah, blah, blah. It's day to day. But it doesn't look like he's going to go on the PUP list now. But again, who knows?
Yep.
But today it's trending positive.
The other complicating factor here for the Beavers is Marlon Mack. I think it's a hamstring. He's basically out for the rest of the preseason.
Yes.
Has he demonstrated enough that he's a definite keeper for the Beavers? So they've got some decisions there between Jeffrey and Demaryius Thomas and Marlon Mack. What are you guys hearing? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I think he's probably slowed down on the Demaryius Thomas trade offers, and I think moving Funchess only solidifies that. I think Thomas is a Beavers keeper. I have no insight on that. I know he was pushing him earlier this summer, but I think that's over.
I think the keeper list you sent out for the Beavers is what it will be. Just my opinion, but you got Marlon Mack on there. I think Marlon Mack will be a keeper.
I know he really wants to keep 4 running backs.
Yep.
Okay, let's wrap up. I think we're getting close to our full hour here. I've got a TFFL trivia answer for you. I'm hoping a few of you got this right. According to Hank, we're starting the trivia season now.
Well, here's what it is. I have got the standings from 2017. All right, right in front of me, and I'm happy to take that and continue running with it, or we can start afresh for 2018. What do we as a panel choose to do?
But we had a couple of webcasts in 2018.
Let's see. Now, the last one that I have scored in this document, at least, was 12-19-17. Now, I don't know that now listen, wouldn't it be great if we had an archive of these and we could actually get the answers? That would be unbelievable.
We'll get one of our interns to replay.
Yeah, we're going to put the intern right on that.
Speaking of which, when are the new archives coming out? Let's get it on.
Yeah, keep us posted on those
Let's
archives.
get it out there.
Posted on the, on the freaking update on this trivia scoring, because you know how many owners give a rat's ass about the trivia scoring? 3, and I'm not even sure I always do. So maybe 2.5.
Well, let's at least score tonight's question. How many of you had the Dirt Devils as your correct answer?
Yes.
There it is. There it is.
Is that a clean sweep? Did Nick get this correct, I hope? Good. Terry?
I got it wrong. I picked the pack.
Oh.
The AMP pack was a consideration. But the AMP pack was a consideration. but I want to make sure my extra messaging gets in there. Daniel Tomlinson, and long live Michael Bennett, the worst first overall pick in the history of the TFFL.
Didn't Michael Bennett die?
No.
Or was that Robert Smith?
I don't think either of them died.
Robert Smith's on ESPN Ocho, right?
Yeah, Robert. He was like a college football announcer for a while.
Actually on Fox now, I believe, for FS1.
There you go. Got a pay raise.
I'm going to have to look into Michael Bennett. All right. Anyway, so there you go. 2 points for everybody but Terry. Congratulations, Nick. 11 lifetime 100-point performances.
Nice work.
Indeed, a lot of those probably on the strength of Tomlinson and
what would be interesting to look at would be actually when it counted the most in the playoffs. How many of those?
102 tackles.
There's a good follow-up question. The number of playoff 100-point performances. Next time,
I'm going to say 2 of those might have come against Kramer in wild card games potentially, but we'll certainly see that in the TFFL archives that come out later tonight.
Did two of the playoffs, and then two impact plays against me and you.
Say that again, Berto. Nick, if you're going to be on the webcast in the future, we are going to have to do something about the speakers. We're going to have to.
It's a government laptop. What do you want?
Oh, we can't put the TFL webcast on a government laptop? Are you kidding me?
What the fuck is he doing?
We're all in a database now. It's over.
We were already in a database.
Yeah, I know, but Nick.
It's still trying to recover from all that smoke at the last Myrtle Beach get together. That you blew into it.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I probably went in the database then. Yeah, whatever.
All right.
Anyway,
so let's wrap up here. Again, we've got dues due, and I think there's only a few of us slackers who haven't paid. We got keepers coming up by end of the month. Got a few final trades, I'm sure, that'll go down here. We got two more big weeks of preseason action. We'll see a lot more of our guys playing. Hopefully not a lot more injuries, but we'll be back prior to the keeper deadline. Maybe that final week of August, guys, we'll get back together, have another webcast right before the keeper deadline. And 23 days from now, we will see all of you in Myrtle Beach. Looking forward. In the meantime, best of luck.
excellent.
We'll see y'all soon. Take care.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, Nick.
My pleasure.